Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan, and today I am sharing with you all my word of the year for 2025. So let's start with word of the year. Yes, I do create one or find one or allow it to find me, however you want to think about that. I've been doing them for a couple of years. I find it's just a great way to really set the energy for the year and everything. So for this podcast episode, I am going to not only explain my word of the year because there is confusion about what it means, but I'm also going to talk about what a word of the year is, how you pick one, and then go into, why I started setting them, and then I'll go into detail about mine. Okay. So my word of the year sets the fucking tone for the entire year. And I don't know if anyone here is a Shoresy fan. That is a Shoresy reference. Yeah, the TV show. Love it. Love that and Letterkenny. Mine come to me, I've been setting them for a couple of years, and they come to me in a multitude of different ways, depending on the year, okay? Sometimes I meditate, and I will have a word come to me that way. Sometimes I have been given them in dreams in the past. Mostly they come from journaling. So I will be in a journaling state, which for me a lot of times is a meditative state because of the type of journaling I do. I'm generally doing shadow working. I'm generally really diving down into introspection and some hard shit. So I do enter a protective meditative space when I do this. Or sometimes I will continue to see a word over and over and over again. And that's when I'm like, okay, fine, I'll listen. But when I do find it every year, there is it's like a feeling that comes with it. There is a feeling of this is it. I usually get goosebumps, but it's almost like the word came home and settled within me. It definitely is like a motivational energy as well. So for me, it's like yes, this is the energy I want to embody in 2025 or that year. And that's the feeling I get. And I'm like, that's it. And then I end up writing it huge, all capitals. That's what I end up doing. In my journal, I will usually journal about it. If I remember last year's word, I remember last year's word, but when I was coming up with it, I was literally in the middle of journaling about the business when the word came up and I just wrote it and then I stopped. It literally made me freeze because I was like, oh, what is that? Yeah. So at the moment, I can only actively remember the last 2 years of my word of the years. I would have to go back on social media, go back and scroll, the deep scroll, to figure out what they were before, or I'd have to go back through journals too, which let me tell you, I have so many journals. It's ridiculous. So the last 2 years, 2023, 2024, I do actively remember. 2023 was Curiosity. It was a very Alice in Wonderland type year for me. And then 2024 last year was Rewilding. And that's the one where I cannot remember if I was setting goals I was just setting goals for the business, for the types of products and stuff that we wanted to do last year. And that word came up, Rewilding. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. It stopped me mid-track, writing. And I remember just underlining it. And I was like, oh my God, this is my word of the year. So before 2023, I know I set them because I have had words come to me in dreams and I've had words come to me in meditation. I do remember Curiosity. I kept having Alice in Wonderland references pop up, which, if you notice in the background, I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. I have a half sleeve tattoo devoted to her. So I have puzzles everywhere. We've talked about it before. So the fact that curiosity was my word of the year should not have been a shocker to me, but it was. And I just remember I kept seeing Alice in Wonderland references, and that's when it hit me that my word of the year would be curiosity. So because of the last 2 years of like very vividly being able to remember my word of the year and how it came to me, I put focus on it now. Like it becomes a thing for me the last few weeks of December. You know, the shop here is closed. The website is closed. We're still taking orders and stuff, but we don't ship anything. We're doing inventory. We're doing planning. We're resting. We're spending time with family. But I'm doing a lot of internal work. And I think I talked about that in last week's episode. So I do take my word of the year very seriously now. And it almost caused a little bit of like, because I mean, I was getting down to, I don't know, the last few days of the year. And I was like, of 2024, I was like, I don't know if I don't have a word of the year yet. Like, what the fuck does that mean? And then I just calmed myself. I gave it over to Spirit. I said, okay, I'm open now. I'm open for my word of the year. I will start journaling. I will start focusing on that. And so it was actually through the workshop that we put on, which started on the 28th. So it would have been the 29th, 30th, 31st of December, that I was journaling about, you know, some of the stuff that the free workshop that we did on the website. That's when the word came to me. But there was another thing to it as well. So I do take it very seriously because, especially this year, I wanted to take it seriously because of all the transformations and the inner work that I started last year. So I wanted to make sure that I set the fucking tone for 2025. Okay. I do have a favorite song right now. It is Reclaim by Malka Russell. And I really hope I pronounced her name correctly. I do listen to that song every single morning. Okay. I found it about a month and a half ago, along with her song Queendom was the first song that I found by her. It led me to Reclaim. And these two songs have absolutely changed my life. But the Reclaim one hits hard every time I listen to it. It makes me cry, like good tears, you know, just like empowering tears, you know? So I was journaling. I was doing the workshop one morning and I was listening to the song in the background. And there's this one part of the song where she says, I'm going to take back my power. I'm reclaiming all of me. I'm going to use my voice, my love, and my sovereignty. And it was like right then and there, everything went silent. I'm not even kidding. And that's how I knew I had hit this. When things go silent, like literally my hearing gets knocked out, that's how I know I'm tapped into something bigger than me. I'm tapped into my higher self. I'm tapped into the collective consciousness. I'm tapped into something else. Okay. That is my tell. And so the world went silent and I went, and the word sovereignty just kind of flowed over me. And that's when I went, oh my God, that's my word of the year. That's it. And the whole song, like I said, makes me cry, but my whole body broke out into goosebumps and it just felt right. And I said, my word of the year is sovereignty. My fucking word of the year is sovereignty. And I loved it. Okay. So this is where I'm going to explain what is sovereignty. All right. All right, hold on. Switching over for those just listening on the podcast. Okay. So I had an Ink Spirit member ask me, because like I asked them what their words of the year were, and mine came up as sovereignty, and someone in Ink Spirit had asked, well, it doesn't have to do with governments. Well, yeah, it does. Okay, so the nerdy definition of sovereignty is supreme power or authority, and the authority of a state to govern itself. So it is 100% used in reference to government in history, okay? Like a sovereign state can rule itself, okay? But over the last few years of the women's empowerment movement, really? Yeah. And women's rights bullshit, especially here in the United States, women are using it to describe, and this is a beautiful definition, I will definitely credit, The claiming of your own inner authority as valid and to live rooted from the truth inside you. Fucking beautiful. So that is from bethanywebster.com. I will put a link in the show notes to a beautiful article that she wrote about sovereignty and like the 13 points of sovereignty. It is so beautiful. Oh my God, it's so moving. So that's when, so this word, I'm listening to this song, this word comes in, I get the goosebumps. I'm like, yes, 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 this is my word of the year. And here's the thing too, Rhiannon is one of my goddesses. And she is the Celtic goddess. She's a Celtic moon goddess of transformation and sovereignty. Okay. And I always knew this. And I see the word sovereignty all the time. I am a huge women empowerment advocate, so like I'm always preaching it. I'm always preaching you are the magic. I love building women up. I love building witches up. And I see the word all the time. And yes, I've Googled it. I've looked it up. I've seen it, but it has never hit me the way that word has hit me now. Now I fucking get it. I understand sovereignty, and that is all that I want to embody. Okay. So I started journaling. What does sovereignty mean to me? If I'm going to make this my word of the year, what does it mean to me? And what does that mean for my year ahead? What energies am I going to be embracing if I'm embracing this and taking this on as my word of the year? Okay. So to me, this is sovereignty. Okay. It is taking back my power from a childhood where I was told to dim my light so others could shine. I was taught that celebrating my accomplishments was bragging or vain. And I'm doing the little air bunny quotation marks for those listening. And so for me, sovereignty is healing that little Morgan in me, that inner child. Okay. Not to like sit here and just like trauma dump all over the place. But yes, I knew from a very early age that I was different. They attempted, I think when I was in the first grade, to have me tested for this new thing called ADHD. Because I really like to talk in class. And I got done with my work about 5 minutes after the teacher got it to me. And so I wanted to talk to people. And I get in trouble for talking to people. So I was told then that I needed to conform. I needed to sit still. I needed to behave. I needed to not open my mouth and speak, no matter what I wanted to say. And as I grew up and I really started to understand how different my brain was from other people's, I was told by teachers and, my parents that I couldn't always show people what my brain could do because then it would make other people feel bad. And so therefore I needed to not answer the questions. I needed to sit still and shut up so that other people could shine. And I could not always take the light. And that's how I grew up from a very, like I said, first grade. Core memory. Yeah, fun one. So I'm going to be taking back my power from that because it was not right for them to tell me to dull my shine. It was not right for them to tell me to dim myself so that other people can shine. That's not how it works. It's not. One light can be brighter than another, but all light is beautiful. Do you know what I mean? So asking a child to not be themselves and to blend in and to hide who they truly are and to literally dumb themselves down because it made other people feel bad, like, that's so fucked up. Anyway, so I'm going to be healing, and I actually have come a long way on that. And that's why, like, I can sit here now and tell that story. That story used to make me cry a lot. Okay. Like when I first had that realization, months ago, it took me a while to even be able to talk about it. And I know, especially those, hearing, you can hear kind of, my throat get a little like tight, maybe a little phlegmy in there when I was talking about it. But I've come a long way because I used to not even like it. The thought of that, like the thought of telling either one of my children to stop shining hurts me. And have been told that as a child, that like there are no words. It's just fucked up. Anyway, okay. So to me, sovereignty also means no longer requiring external approval for anything. And while I definitely walk to the beat of my own drum, okay, and I definitely do whatever the fuck I want, okay, these are two standard things about me. There are a lot of times and instances where I do ask approval or I seek the approval of outside people, okay? For example, and I really hope you all laugh when you hear this because it's actually a huge joke in my house from like a great standpoint. Colin and I have been married for 25 years. We've been together for longer than that. I can't math right now. But there will be times where like we're sitting there and we're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to watch TV? Do you want to play video games? Like, what do you want to do? And it'll hit me. And I'll be like, you know what? I would really like to go lay in bed, turn on Masked Singer, and fold some clothes. Is that okay? And he always looks at me and goes, you're a 43-year-old woman. Do whatever the fuck you want. That sounds fine to me. And it's said in the most loving way because he's been married to me for 25 years. And for 25 years, because I grew up as such a people pleaser, I didn't want people to hate me. I had to keep the peace. I had to walk eggshells around one of my parents, like all the time, and make sure that their emotions were taken care of and their needs were taken care of above mine from the time I can remember about 7 or 8 years old. So I've always been a people pleaser. And that's where like Colin and I will literally be sitting there and like, we cannot figure anything out. And I'm like, okay, well deep down, like this is what I really want to go do. I end it with, is that okay with you? And it's just 25 years of this. He's like, you're fucking 43 years old. Do whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, but you're not mad at me for like wanting to go lay in bed and watch Masked Singer. He's like, why the fuck would I be mad at you for wanting to lay in bed and watch Masked Singer? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm just making sure. And let me tell you, this is 100% a response from my childhood. Like Colin has never been toxic to me ever in 25 years of marriage, So this is not like a trauma response from a time in our marriage where I had to walk on eggshells around Colin. I have never had to walk on eggshells around Colin. Okay, this is 100% from my childhood. And the more that I dive down inside of myself and the more I figure shit out about myself, the more that my inner child is like, oh my God, she's giving me attention. We didn't have that unless we achieved. Then we had attention. But if we weren't achieving and we weren't progressing and we weren't being productive, we didn't have attention when we were little. And look, she's trying to give us attention right now. So my inner child is always trying to come forward because my inner child knows I'm going to pay attention to it. And that was something I was not given as a kid. So my inner child is always popping up, always going, is that okay? Can I do that? To which my husband replies, you're a 43-year-old woman, do whatever the fuck you want. So this year, sovereignty for me is no longer requiring external approval for anything. I'm seriously going to work on it. It does extend to being the face of my business and holding back out of fear of losing customers. I very much am scared of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing and having people be like, oh my God, well, I don't want to spend my money with them anymore. When, if nothing else, the last year has absolutely taught me that there are factions of people out there that can say and do whatever the fuck they want. And yes, they end up like there are certain celebrities, that have like ruined their reputation with a set of people, but another set of people rose up to support them, And I think if nothing else, that's what the division in our country has shown us, the division in the United States has shown us, is sometimes you can say whatever the fuck you want and somebody will be there to back you up. And I don't even have extreme opinions on shit, like the way that the things that are being expressed nowadays. I don't even have extreme opinions, but I'm so scared that like a little opinion of mine, but it's something I'm really passionate about, is going to piss off the wrong person. And then they're going to be like, you know what? I was going to spend $10 with you, but now I'm not. And then like old Morgan would have been devastated. But I have to understand that, you know, I don't need everyone's approval. I need my own approval. And that's what I have to stay true to moving forward. Sovereignty for me is also embracing all of me and sharing that with people. That is the good, the bad, the ugly, the crazing. I don't know if you all saw, but last week I danced in a reel. Like I dance every morning. That's my form of exercise. And this time I recorded some of it and I put it on the internet. That was so scary for me, but it is what I do every morning, and it's a part of who I am, and it's something that I've been wanting to record for months, with like a little motivational thing about on top of it. And that's what I finally did. I finally did it and I put it out there. And I just sat there in silence for a while after that because it was so scary for me. And I didn't do it for anyone's approval. I didn't put it out there to get the comments, you know, to get the people back, to get the likes. I didn't do it. I did it for me because it was something I'd been wanting to do for months. Okay. And it was a part of embracing who I truly am and sharing that with the world, because you all do not know whether or not you support me. You all do not know whether or not we resonate on the same level if I'm holding back and not showing you who I am. You know what I mean? So I'm going to love all aspects of myself. And if people don't like it, fuck them. Fuck them. Right? Yeah. I am going to, sovereignty for me means finally owning my worth, my expertise, and my ability to be a leader. And I'm going to say that word again because that word used to always make me go, huh. That is leader. Okay. It has taken me a very long time to come to this place. And let me tell you, I have had the online coven for 4 years now. So you would think at least 4 years ago, I realized that I was a leader. Not really. It was something that if anyone said to me, oh, you inspired me, you motivated me to do this. Thank you for saying this because, you know, this lit a fire in me. I would always shrink. My response to that was to shrink and to play it off like, oh, anyone could have said that, or, oh, you know, the thank you, but I got that out of a book, or, you know, like that's my default. That was my default. Let me rephrase. That was my default. I do understand now, and I have started to understand even more my worth, not only as a human being, but also in the witchcraft community, and my expertise. I mean, I could sit here and tell you all day, and you hear me say it. It is in the intro to my fucking podcast. I am an eclectic witch of 25 years, Avalon priestess, and let me tell you, the end of 2023 is the first time that I claimed that. And I've been a part of the Avalonian tradition since like 2003-ish. Yeah. And I have devoted all of my time and like my spiritual time and energy to spreading the word of Avalon and empowering women. And it took me 20 years of being on this path to be like, nah, I'm an Avalon priestess. Okay. So for me, being able to not only own my worth, but own my expertise in the witchy community, own my knowledge, own my leadership abilities, I've come a long way to be able to do that. So I want to make sure that any little things left in there that make me want to go, huh? They're gone. Okay. Owning and embracing. That's the key. I think I wrote that down here. Like it's embracing it. So like I'm starting to be really mindful of owning those things, but it's the embracing that I still have a little bit of a journey to go with. Okay. And then the last part of what sovereignty means to me is heavily honoring my divine feminine side, especially my dark divine feminine, and making pleasure and flow priorities in my life. Those are some of my resolutions for 2025 as well. And I did talk a lot about dark divine feminine energy in the last episode, so I'm not going to go back into it. If you're new here, then hit up episode, what was that, 152? Yeah, hit up that one, because that's where I talk a little bit more about dark divine feminine energy and what it taught me in 2024. So that's what I have for you all today. My word of the year is sovereignty. I plan to embrace the shit out of it. And if you are like, all right, I could do a word of the year, or if you haven't figured out your word of the year yet, I would say, meditate, pay attention to dreams, pay attention to social media, but open yourself. Like if you're going to be looking for signs or words that are repeated, you have to open yourself first. And that's when the synchronicities will start to happen and you'll start to see those signs. Okay. All right. So Patreon members, I do have 2 new shout outs for this week, and then I will let you all know what you're getting as your bonus content. So this week I have Mara and Laura. Thank you. I love that it happens to rhyme. I love that for you all. So those are my 2 new Patreon members. The Patreon bonus content for this week are some other contenders for word of the year for me that I played around with or that had made themselves known to me, but just didn't quite make it as my main word of the year. Did not give me the fireworks, did not give me the goosebumps, but there's still things I'm going to be mindful of in 2025. So if you are wondering about my Patreon, it is your way of supporting me as a witchy content creator. And there are 3 different tiers. The podcast is the bottom one, which is just $5 a month. It gets you the shout out and bonus content. The middle tier gets you a tarot reading. The middle tier gets you the first tier, the podcast tier, as well as a tarot reading for the week on the week's energy. And then that's $9 a month. And the top tier is only $13. It gets you the first 2 tiers plus Book of Shadow pages there's about 2 to 4 a month. Of like actual PDFs where you can print them, add them to your Book of Shadows page, or add them to your digital Book of Shadows. So that is patreon.com/InkedGoddessCreations. And I definitely want to thank you all for being here, for listening, for giving me a platform to share my knowledge and be myself. And I will see you all next week. Bye. If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks.